Well, one thing's for sure, it is a busy, busy, busy day, as always, and the importance of our homes seem on the top of everyone's mind. Now, you've heard the story, and recent surveys by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics um, confirm there's going to be a need for over 65,000 professionals in trades alone over the next 10 years. So, what are we doing about that? You may not realize, but there are people working on that problem and have been for years. You've heard Brian Miller before. We've had him on this show. Enzweiler Building Institute and the great work that they do. Brian, welcome again to At Home with Gary Sullivan. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Gary. How you doing today, my friend?
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. And you got wonderful news. But before we get into the news, can you kind of address what I just spoke of? The shortage. We all hear about it, but you're doing something about it and have been.
Yeah, we've been doing this since 1967, and we have always had one location. And we're going to talk about some exciting news about a second location. But when you talk about those 65,000 new skilled tradespeople in the next 10 years that are cited by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Gary, those are just the trades that we teach. That's not roofing, flooring, landscaping, all the other things. That's just the core components of what it takes to build structures in Greater Cincinnati.
Wow. So we've you've been doing it since 1967, Enzweiler Building Institute, and we've been talking about we being just people maybe in the media or just our friends. We all know the issues there. It's kind of gotten a lot of press in the last 10 years. Um, is is there a demand? I mean, are people gravitating to these trades now? I mean, because you've done so much work to make it a great option. Are you getting traction, I guess is the question.
Well, yeah, I really think that the culture's changing, Gary. And what we like to say is we kind of like to flip it around that maybe if you're not cut out for the trades, possibly college is for you rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an opportunity for people to get into a career, not just a job. Jobs are things you have to show up to make clock hours work, but a trade is a true career. And Gary, in the recent years, in the last 10 years, wages have caught up so much in the construction trades that it's really, really attractive. For the different 7 or 8 trades that we teach, 10 years ago we were talking about maybe $40,000 a year. But I'm sitting here looking at additional mean wage data from the Bureau, and we're talking, and this is Greater Cincinnati specific numbers. We're talking wages that right out of our school are focused on somewhere between $45,000 up to almost $60,000 a year, and that's just in those specific trades. But when I go out and I talk to our contractors about, hey, does this wage data match up with what you all are paying? Many of them tell me, I wish,
I
because
was
we're
going to
paying
say
it.
the same thing.
Yeah, we're having to pay our folks a lot more to
Sure.
stay competitive. So, just like in the recent years, it's been a seller's market. Well, right now in the construction trade, it is a skilled tradesperson's market.
For sure. Now, what kind of trades do you work on? I know HVAC, probably plumbing, carpentry, electrical.
So for decades we've been working on those core components of construction. We've had our carpentry program since '67. In the late '70s, early '80s, we brought on an electrical program. Late '80s, we brought on an HVAC program, and that was our cadre of courses that we carried until 2008, 2009. And we started a facilities maintenance program. And some people ask us, why are you so engaged in facilities maintenance? Well, it's just the sheer number of workers out there. In Greater Cincinnati, there are over 11,000 individuals in our hometown that are engaged in some sort of facilities maintenance. And whether that is a corporate campus, whether that is a retail center, whether those are HOAs that have common deeded facilities that need to be worked on, it's a huge group of people. And since then, we've also added plumbing and masonry. We've further tried to expand some of our training, and what we're going to come back to you with in a few weeks when we nail out the deal is that we are beginning to focus on, and this is something I have not sent to you, but we're beginning to focus on what will be the nation's second major education opportunity for historic renovated trades.
Wow.
And that's going to be a partnership with the city of Covington for what will be titled the Covington Academy for Heritage Trades. We've not inked the deal with them yet, but we're extremely close.
Okay.
That program already has $1 million invested into it. And we're starting also, Gary, to get into short courses. So I know this is not something we sent to you, but something I walked in with today is that on October 24th, we are working on a short course with our commercial roofing partners. And that will be a 16-week course. Students will meet on Monday and Wednesdays, and it'll include their tuition, OSHA 10 training, CPR training. They'll cover all their consumable materials and even an entry-level roofing toolkit. And the price for that is $2,200. So it's extremely affordable, and we can help get maybe 20 or 30 people into that to set them off in a career in the roofing industry, which is also vastly needed. So we're starting to branch out into these short courses, Gary, and just trying to address all the needs that we possibly can, because the needs are so vast, and there's just simply not enough training centers around the country, especially in Greater Cincinnati, to be able to handle it all.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word culture. It is a cultural thing. I think for so many years, trades were looking, people died to get into the trades. It was passed on in families, and trades were so well respected. And then all of a sudden, everything was a run to college, and now, and now it's swinging back, and it has to swing back because we rely on those folks for so much. Even school systems, you got some of these districts with 8 campuses. Somebody's got to manage those, and they need people to do this. So.
And it just shows, anybody that's listening today that's a do-it-yourselfer. I mean, you've always been a wonderful resource for decades on do-it-yourself, but eventually somebody's got to hire somebody. I think everybody listening today has tried to call a contractor and have been told before, I just don't have time.
Right.
So it just to keep this country going and to keep the structures up, not only to keep them maintained, but to build new structures, we simply don't have enough people. Out of all these trades that we're talking about, there are about 65,000 people working in there, and that 65,000 number is also with the replacement factor we have to meet in the next 10 years, because it's not just the growth, but it's the fact that our tradespeople have historically been in these professions for years, and they're aging out. They're retiring, and we see them every day. These companies are getting handed off. So this is also a great opportunity for somebody to step into what is probably the most entrepreneurial industry in the entire country, are the construction trades, where they can either manage a company for somebody, or they can also own their company one day. And the folks in our area, Gary, better than anybody else, some of the most well-to-do people in this community started off in the construction trade.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Brian, we're taking a little break, and when we come back, you can tell us the good news, and also kind of want to follow a student through after they have their training, let's say in HVAC. When they go to a company, do they start as an apprentice and all that? We got about 10 minutes. We'll take a little break and get the good news out for everybody as we continue. You're at home with Gary Sullivan right here on 55 KRC, the talk station. All right, back at it we go. Brian Miller is my guest. Enzweiler Building Institute, trainers for trades folks right in northern Kentucky, and very, very active in the whole, replenish the trades. And, geez, I'm glad somebody is. Brian, when somebody goes through all this training and they get their education, how long is one of those trades? How often do you go to school? And when you get out, I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are dying to get your folks. How's that all work?
So the core education component that we have has for years been an evening adult program. This is a post-secondary program, and what it's designed is an earn while you learn model. So we can't guarantee somebody a job, because we can't guarantee that somebody's going to put in the hours and wake up and get to work on time.
Right.
But what we can do is that we can connect our students with people that are in the trades that are actively looking for workers, and we get calls every day, Gary. It's almost all day long. We could probably just have one phone line dedicated to people calling in looking for
Yeah,
folks.
I agree.
So we also have a high school program. Talk to your area high schools in Northern Kentucky and see if your school system works with us, because we also wanted to include an introduction to trades program. And this is a little more beefy than what your traditional vocational program is, because it takes you through all 7 or 8 areas of the construction trades. And it really helps to match aces in their places, which they really do well, because the last thing we want to do is have somebody go off and start off in one of these trades and decide, a year or two in, maybe that's not for me. Maybe I didn't want to be an electrician. Maybe I'd rather be a plumber. So we try to get people onto that track early. But once they graduate high school or afterwards or in a career transition, they come to us. And so HVAC, as you know, Gary, in our state, is a licensed trade.
Right.
And we are an approved education provider for our Department of Housing, Buildings, and Construction, which oversees licensure. So when they come to us, as long as they have our education component and are actively working with on-the-job training with their employer, they accelerate through their career path. We also do offer our services as an intermediary for registered apprenticeships with the state. So we actually will do all the paperwork for the employer to put together the on-the-job training recording requirements with the education component that we provide. There are tax incentives for employers to become involved in that. But also, a big part of our students, Gary, are already employed and already sponsored. They've just been hired, especially in our electrical courses. And the employers ask that they put some skin in the game and pay for a couple of years of their education. But if they continue on that 4-year track in electric, the employers, I believe, pay for year 3 and 4. And if they graduate and they continue to work for that company and they get their electrical license, in many cases, those employers will actually reimburse those students for their initial investment in their future. So there's several advantages to this. We do have career acceleration in the licensed trades. We've got a pathway to licensure faster, and we also provide these services for the employers too. It really all comes together. We're also an education provider for the Veterans Administration. We work with the Office of Vocational Rehab and also with the Career Center to offer Workforce Investment Opportunity Act.
You're getting the job done, and I know we only got about 4 minutes, and I want to make sure we make the announcement. You said a second facility. Tell me about that.
So this is a great opportunity. We are working, there's several different funding sources that have come together. We are rounding out the end of our grant with the Work Ready Skills Initiative in Kentucky. We've also received a grant from the Workforce Innovation Board's Governor's Discretionary Funds, a grant from the Duke Energy Foundation, as well as significant support from the city of Covington. And we are announcing a new training facility. We're going vertical. It is a reimagined facility that used to be a retail space in the Latonia Plaza Shopping Center, which is now called the Latonia Commerce Center, and that's on Winston Avenue. 3901 Winston Avenue. And so it is a win-win-win. That is a space that has needed attention for years. It is a part of our community that everybody would recognize as a large blue collar community.
Right.
Every corner, like the mayor says, every corner street has a plumber, an electrician, HVAC tech, all living there. Yep. And so, a lot of those folks in that part of the community are kind of place bound. And it also provides us with the longest run public transportation on tank bus lines. So it's really a great opportunity for folks to get involved. And we'll be offering 8 trades there. And like I said, in the future, it will be the home base of the Covington Academy for heritage trades.
Well, I understand the groundbreaking has happened or is going to happen.
Yep. No, we just had it on Monday.
Right.
All those folks, all those folks that came out had an opportunity to speak as supporters of the program. Our partners in the education community, those elected officials that walk closely with us, came out, as well as other significant people in the workforce development space came out. And we are going vertical. Like the very next day, the interior walls started going up, and they are just about done with all the interior steel framing.
That's excellent. Good to hear it. Good to catch up with you, Brian. And I know the Enzweiler Building Institute is really helping change the curve And I
Hmm.
appreciate it, and I know a lot of people down the road are going to appreciate it because our tradespeople are critical parts to our society. And congratulations on your expansion, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Classes start in January, Gary. If folks want to learn more, they can go to our website, buildinginstitute.com, or they can simply email Dr. Vicki Burling. I would say probably the greatest administrator that we could possibly find to help run our programs. You can find her at admissions@buildersnky.com.
Very good, my friend. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Gary.
You betcha. Bye-bye. Brian Miller, Enzweiler Building Institute, and really a yeoman's job of from an education standpoint for our tradespeople. And, when you get into HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, those are family jobs. And, getting that education, changing that culture, you talk about jobs ready. All you got to do is drive around in this city or call a company where you need service on, and you'll hear the story. That need is real. And I told you what the data was, and Brian also confirmed that data. It's a problem that's been there and been growing, and the Enzweiler Building Institute is addressing it and has been addressing it for years. Again, that expansion took place, or groundbreaking took place on Monday, and classes start in January. So, way to go. Appreciate it. All right, well, that's going to kind of slow things down for the rest of the day. It's a pretty nice day out there. We can get a few things done around the home. Again, I emphasize taking a look at those good weather projects. We're going to run out of that good weather eventually, and I'm talking about concrete sealing and patching and roofs and gutters and painting, weather stripping, exterior doors. Those are all really good projects you might think about concentrating on. All right, Danny boy, job well done. Good Lord willing, we'll both be back tomorrow for more At Home with Gary Sullivan.